today we're going to be talking about business profitability and really how to think about the activities you're undertaking and are they producing a profitable outcome for your business, because at the end of the day, that's what matters. So to do so, we're going to take a look at the profitability equation. And what the profitability equation says is that revenue needs to be greater than costs. So the amount of money I make by doing my business, selling my product or service, needs to be greater than the costs that go into that business. Pretty simple. So let's actually expand that out a little bit to be a little more granular. So what is revenue composed of? Well, really, revenue is composed of profit plus expenses. So the amount of surplus we get by selling our good or service plus the amount that needs to go into creating that good or service. Then costs are composed of marketing. So the amount of effort that we need to put in to sell our good or service, plus everything else. So COGS, overhead, all of that gets clustered into everything else. So what we're going to do here is we're actually going to set expenses equal to everything else. And when we do that, what will actually happen is expenses and everything else will drop out of our profitability equation. And what we're left with is that in order for us to conduct a profitable business, our profit needs to be greater than our marketing. So the amount of surplus we make needs to be greater than the amount of effort we need to put in to sell that good or service. All right? So what I want to do is I want to take that and I actually want to apply a couple of terms to bring it up to date in terms of the internet economy. So, in the internet economy, we call profit lifetime value. Again, that's the amount of the average amount of profit we're able to bring in on a per customer basis. So the average amount of profit that will generate over the lifetime of an average customer. And then on the right side, marketing, well, this is what we call customer acquisition cost. All right, that's the amount of money that we require to spend to acquire a customer. So we end up with lifetime value needs to be greater than customer acquisition cost in order for us to have a profitable business. All right, so I want to analyze this equation with one example, and we're going to start out actually taking a look at this right side, this customer acquisition cost. So how do we actually calculate that on a per customer basis or a per product basis or a per unit basis for our business? Well, since we're talking about the internet, we're going to take a look at a customer acquisition funnel in the age of the internet, really social media. So the way a customer acquisition funnel works is essentially we're moving from top to bottom, and we start with all of the available people in the world, and they funnel down, and out of the bottom pops a buyer. So there are several steps that we go through, that a customer moves through as they move through this funnel. The first step is lead generation, and this is really step one, where a customer hears about our business for the first time and indicates some amount of interest. Step two is a drip campaign. Really, this is the ongoing upkeep of marketing. If I'm a car dealership or something like that, I may send out a once a month notice on a deal, something like that. Basically, some sort of marketing effort that I'm putting in to keep my business top of mind. And then at the bottom, we have our buy, where somebody's actually purchasing our good or service. So as you see, at the top of the funnel, it's wide, at the bottom, it's narrow. And what that means is at each step, we're losing customers as we move through the process. And in social media, what the numbers actually show is, so how a social media campaign works is, generally I'm running some sort of digital ad. A customer sees that, they click on it, they go to my website, they're either signing up for a free trial or they're giving me their email address. That process, we see about a 6% success rate. So the success of my lead generation process is about 6%. Then I follow that up with a drip campaign, meaning I'm sending them weekly emails or something like that to try to convert them to buy my product. And what we see is about a 2% success rate for that drip campaign. So when we actually run the math, let's say we're spending 50 cents per click on our social media campaign. We divide that by our lead generation success rate, which is 6%, and then we divide that again by our drip campaign success rate, which is 2%. And what we find is that our customer acquisition cost for running this campaign is $400 per customer. Okay? So when we plug that back into our profitability equation, which again was lifetime value needing to be greater than customer acquisition cost, what we see is that our lifetime value needs to be greater than $400 for us to run this social media campaign. So what does that mean? What do we take away from it? Well, two things. One, there are certain products where that's going to be fine, where you're able to generate $400 off a customer and great, you're successful. Now there are certain types of business where that's not going to be profitable. Does that mean you should not undertake it? No, it doesn't necessarily. It means you need to think about it, but you also need to understand that this funnel created that number. So there's different ways that you can hijack this funnel to try to increase these percentages or bypass the percentages or lower these costs in order to lower all the customer acquisition cost. But that's how we think about, are the interactions, are the efforts that we're putting into our business actually producing a profitable outcome? And in subsequent lectures, we'll talk about how do we improve that customer acquisition cost and what are other sorts of things that we can do in our business to make it easier for us to generate profit. So that's it. Thank you very much, and we'll talk to you in the next one.